There's a conversation that often happens behind closed doors in the world of self-realization, one that rarely makes it into motivational sound bites or social media reels. It touches on the deeper, messier debates about what it means to truly wake up to ourselves. We hear so much about finding our purpose or becoming our best self, but the path isn't always lined with soft encouragement and inspirational quotes. Underneath, there's a tug-of-war between different philosophies on how to handle pain, how much external validation matters, and whether self-love can slip into self-indulgence. That's where it gets real, and sometimes uncomfortable. Let's start by peeling back a layer on self-love versus self-critique. One camp argues that radical self-acceptance is the key to wholeness. They'll say, "You are enough exactly as you are. Embrace yourself. You don't need to change." The other camp challenges that message, pointing out that if we embrace ourselves too uncritically, we can become stagnant. They'll ask, if I already love myself as I am, where's the motivation to improve, to confront the parts of me that hurt others or hold me back? This debate is trickier than it seems. It begs the question, do we risk complacency in the name of self-kindness, or do we risk self-flagellation in the pursuit of growth? There's no single answer, and many people find themselves weaving back and forth, learning to hold both acceptance and ambition in balance. Then there's the role of external validation. We're told that true fulfillment can only come from within. Yet, human beings by nature exist in relationships, families, friendships, workplaces. The need to be seen and respected by others can be a genuine part of our mental health. So, is it possible that the push to not care what others think oversimplifies a nuanced truth? Some experts will tell you that ignoring outside feedback can lead to narcissism or social isolation. Others argue that being overly reliant on external opinions is a fast track to unhappiness. The right path might be learning to integrate both, acknowledging we're social creatures who crave connection while still cultivating enough inner foundation so we don't hinge our entire self-worth on others' approval. We also rarely talk about the commercialization of self-help. The explosion of life coaches, spiritual gurus, and personal growth influencers has led to an endless wave of quick-fix formulas. 7 steps to enlightenment, 30 days to a new you, and so on. But behind the snappy promises, there's controversy. Some believe these programs commodify profound inner processes that take time and grit. Others defend them, saying bite-sized strategies at least introduce people to self-exploration. If nothing else, it's worth questioning whether a one-size-fits-all approach can ever truly reflect the deeply personal nature of growth. Sometimes, no matter how good the marketing, what we actually need is patience, self-reflection, and professional help that honors the complexity of our background and experiences. Let's get deeper into emotional healing. You'll often see 2 polarized schools of thought, the face your shadow approach versus the choose positive vibes only perspective. The shadow work camp insists that you can't skip over your painful emotions. You must dive into them, unearth their roots, and process them fully before you can move on. On the flip side, there's a contingent that preaches relentless positivity, warning that focusing on pain only amplifies it. One side could accuse the other of toxic positivity, while the other retorts that wallowing in negative experiences can trap you in victimhood. Where's the middle ground? Perhaps it's understanding that healing often requires a willingness to be uncomfortable, but not forever. You process the pain, glean what you can from it, and then integrate it so you can eventually choose optimism without denying reality. Authenticity and vulnerability are buzzwords in self-development, but they spark their own debate. Is being authentic merely wearing your heart on your sleeve, or is it a deeper alignment between who you are and how you show up in the world? Some argue that vulnerability has been glamorized, especially on social media, where curated openness can become a performance in itself. Others insist that genuine vulnerability is the cornerstone of true connection and personal liberation. The unspoken question, am I sharing to heal and connect, or to gain likes and sympathy. Only through honest self-reflection can each of us answer that. Meanwhile, mindfulness is praised for reducing stress and grounding us in the present. It's recommended in workplaces, schools, and therapy clinics alike. But a lesser talked about debate concerns whether mindfulness might be used as a band-aid in toxic environments. Some critics warn that if companies tell burned-out employees to just meditate more without addressing the root causes, like overwork, poor leadership, or a culture of fear, then mindfulness becomes a way to tolerate the intolerable. It's like patching a leaking roof with duct tape. Real awareness might require both personal practice and collective change. Another under-discussed dimension is how trauma complicates the conversation around self-realization. There's a growing consensus that unresolved trauma changes our neurological wiring and influences how we respond to stress, relationships, and even our own self-image. While some gurus might say, simply visualize a better you, those grappling with deep-rooted trauma may need qualified mental health support or specialized therapy to unravel what's been buried. The conflict here is between quick, motivational tactics and the painstaking work of trauma-informed care. They don't necessarily oppose each other, but for many individuals, one approach alone isn't enough. Finally, free will itself is often left out of self-improvement dialogues. Do we choose to grow and heal purely by personal volition? Or are we shaped by unconscious drives, genetic predispositions, and societal conditions? Some philosophers argue that our capacity to will change might be more limited than we assume. Others counter that the entire essence of self-realization rests on personal agency. The tension here is real. Your environment and biology influence your path, but part of evolving is recognizing the zones of freedom you do have and harnessing them, even if they're small. So where does all of this leave you on your journey of self-awakening? Perhaps it's a reminder that personal growth isn't one-dimensional and it rarely fits into a polished formula. It may require weaving together what resonates from each debate and discovering your own nuanced truth. If you're leaning too far into self-acceptance, you might need a nudge toward healthy ambition. If external validation is hijacking your sense of self, it could be time to tune in more deeply. If you've been pushing relentless positivity, maybe you'll dare to unpack the baggage you've been avoiding. Growth isn't about achieving a final, perfect state. It's about questioning, re-evaluating, and continuing to push your own edges. As you navigate these debates, give yourself space for nuance. None of these dilemmas have a neat ending. In fact, wrestling with them is part of the awakening process. It sharpens your self-awareness and clarifies your values. When someone says this is how it must be done, it's worth asking, is it right for me? Often the real power lies in that questioning moment, when you claim your autonomy in how you approach your own evolution. All the theories, debates, and frameworks in the world mean little if they don't speak to your lived experience. Ultimately, your journey is unique, and the greatest gift you can give yourself is the permission to explore all sides of the conversation without rushing to a black and white conclusion. Growth is, at its core, a living dialogue, a dance between your hopes, your fears, your pains, and your aspirations. In the end, maybe the most meaningful form of self-realization is to keep that dialogue going, staying open enough to learn and strong enough to stand on your own 2 feet as you do.